Children, do you know how many letters make the English alphabet?
26.
Yes, that's correct. There are 26 letters to the English alphabet. Let's say them all. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. There are 26 letters. Each letter has a sound. Some letters have more than one sound. Now, we will look at how letters are written and what they sound like. This is letter A. The sound of letter A is A. The sound of letter A is A. Can you name things that begin with the sound of A? A, apple, ant, alligator, arrow, ambulance. Letter A has one more sound, A. A sounds, A. A sounds, A. Arm. Next, we are going to learn about letter B. This is letter B. The sound of letter B is B. The sound of letter B is B. Can you name the things that begin with the sound of B? B, B. Ball, bat, bun, balloon, bag, butterfly. This is letter C. The sound of letter C is K. The sound of letter C is K. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of C. C. K. Cake, cat, can, cow, carrot. Letter C has one more sound, S. C sounds, S. C sounds, S. We hear this sound in the words like circle, This is letter D. The sound of letter D is D. The sound of letter D is D. Can you name things that begin with the sound of D? D. D. Duck. Dog. Doll. Door. Deer. Dice. This is letter E. The sound of letter E is E. The sound of letter E is E. 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 Elephant. Egg. Envelope. Engine. Elbow. Letter E has another sound, E. Here the letter E appears to say its own name, E. Here the letter E appears to say its own name, E. Eagle. This is letter F. The sound of letter F is F. The sound of letter F is F. What are the things that begin with the sound of F? F. Fish. Fan. Finger. Foot. Fork. Fig. This is letter G. The sound of letter G is G. The sound of letter G is G. Let us name things that begin with the sound of G. 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 Girl. Gift. Goat. Gate. Guitar. Letter G also has one more sound, J. G sounds, J. G sounds, J. Giraffe. This is letter H. The sound of letter H is The sound of letter H is Can you name things that begin with the sound of H? H. Horse. Hat. Hen. House. Hand. Hair. This is letter I. The sound of letter I is I. The sound of letter I is I. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of I. I. Ink. Igloo. Insects. India. Instruments. Letter I also has another sound, I. Here the letter I appears to say its own name, I. Here the letter I appears to say its own name, I. Letter I says I in words like ice cube, This is letter J. The sound of letter J is J. The sound of letter J is J. Let us name things that begin with the sound of J. 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 Jam. Jug. Jelly. Jar. Juice. Jacket. This is letter K. The sound of letter K is K. The sound of letter K is K. Name things that begin with the sound of K. 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 Key. Kitten. Kettle. Kite. King. Kangaroo. This is letter L. The sound of letter L is L. The sound of letter L is L. What are the things that begin with the sound of letter L? L. L. Lion. Leaf. Lock. Lamp. Leg. Lily. This is letter M. The sound of letter M is M. The sound of letter M is M. Can you name things that begin with the sound of letter M? M. M. Mug. Mango. Mat. Monkey. Moon. Man. This is letter N. The sound of letter N is N. The sound of letter N is N. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of N. 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 Net. Nail. Nose. Nest. 9. Nut. This is letter O. The sound of letter O is O. The sound of letter O is O. Can you name things that begin with the sound of O? O. O. Orange. Ox. ostrich, octopus, oyster. Letter O has one more sound, O. Letter O has one more sound, O. Here, letter O appears to be saying O. Oval. This is letter P. The sound of letter P is P. The sound of letter P is P. Name things that begin with the sound of P. P. Pen, pot, parrot, pineapple, pin, peapod, this is letter Q. The sound of letter Q is Q. The sound of letter Q is Q. Can you name things that begin with the sound of Q? Q. Q. Queen, quill, quilt, question mark, quiet. Letter Q has one more sound. Here the letter Q appears to say its own name, Q. Here the letter Q appears to say its own name, Q. It says its own name, Q, in the word Q. Now, let us look at letter R. This is letter R. The sound of letter R is R. The sound of letter R is R. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of R. 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 Rat, rose, ring, rabbit, road roller, ribbon, this is letter S. The sound of letter S is S. The sound of letter S is S. Can you name things that begin with the sound of S? S. S. Sun, socks, soap, saw, 7, sandwich, this is letter T. The sound of letter T is T. The sound of letter T is T. Now, let us name things that begin with the sound of letter T. T. Tap, tiger, top, table, 2, tooth. And the next letter is U. This is letter U. The sound of letter U is a. The sound of letter U is a. Can you name things that begin with the sound of letter U? U. A. Umbrella. Urn. Up. Uncle. Unhappy. Letter U also has another sound. U. Here the letter U appears to say its own name. U. Here the letter U appears to say its own name. U. Where letter U sounds like it's saying U. Uniform. This is letter V. The sound of letter V is V. The sound of letter V is V. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of letter V. 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 Violin. Vase. Van. Vegetables. Vest. Vulture. After V comes the letter W. This is letter W. The sound of letter W is W. The sound of letter W is W. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of W. 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 Window. Watch. Whale. Worm. Watermelon. Wall. This is letter X. The sound of letter X is X. The sound of letter X is X. This sound of letter X is heard in words like X. X. Box. Fox. Mix. Ox. Usually, this sound of letter X comes in the end of the words. Letter X also has a second sound, Z. X sounds Z. X sounds Z. Like the one we hear in the word xylophone. Letter X also has a third sound. Here the letter X appears to say its own name, X. Here the letter X appears to say its own name, X. Like the one we hear in the word X-ray. This is letter Y. The sound of letter Y is Y. The sound of letter Y is Y. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of Y. 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 Yacht. Yak. Yo-yo. yellow, yarn, year. And then comes the letter Z. This is letter Z. The sound of letter Z is Z. The sound of letter Z is Z. Let us name a few things that begin with the sound of Z. 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 Zip. Zebra. Zero. Zigzag. Zoo. Zebra crossing. Come on everyone. Let us all revise the letters and their sounds.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
That's good. A, B, K, S, D, E, E, F, G, J, I, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, O, Q, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Z, X, Y, Z.